You can't stand up. You can't stretch your arms. The steel wall to your left is so close, you can feel its heat radiating through your jacket. The engine, a Chrysler A57 multibank, 425 horsepower, is screaming 5 feet behind your back. The exhaust fumes and the smell of burnt cordite have soaked into your lungs. Your ears have been ringing for 3 days straight. You are the gunner of an M4 Sherman tank. You are somewhere in northern France. The year is 1944, and the man next to you, your loader, just grabbed your arm. He doesn't say a word. He doesn't have to, because through the narrow slit of your periscope, you can see it. A tiger. We've all seen the war films. The heroic charge. The tank bursting through a hedgerow. The crew celebrating on the hull with cigarettes and triumph. What those films almost never show you is the inside. The smell. The terror. The physics of what happens to a human body inside a steel box when an 88mm shell decides to pay a visit. Today, we're going inside. Not just historically, experientially. Because the men who crewed these machines didn't just fight a war. They fought against fire, suffocation, deafness, and their own minds, every single day. And the shocking truth is, the tank that America sent the most men into during World War II was outgunned, out-armored, and outclassed almost from the moment it arrived in Europe. This is their story, and for the next 10 minutes, it's yours too. Let's set the stage. By 1942, the United States needed a tank, and they needed it fast. The M4 Sherman was the answer. It was reliable. It was easy to manufacture. By the end of the war, the US and its allies had produced nearly 50,000 of them. 50,000. That number is staggering. But here's what that number hides. Inside each of those tanks lived 5 men. A driver, a co-driver, a commander, a loader, and a gunner. 5 human beings crammed into a space roughly the size of a walk-in closet. Except this closet had no windows, no ventilation worth mentioning, no padding on its walls, and it was filled with high explosive ammunition. The interior workspace for the gunner, that's you, was approximately 3 feet wide. That's it. You sat on a bicycle-style seat bolted to the turret. When the turret rotated, you rotated with it. You could not stand. You could not look out. Your entire view of the battlefield was through a narrow telescopic sight or a periscope that gave you a field of view comparable to looking through a mail slot. Next to you sat your loader. His job was to grab 30-pound shells from the storage racks, slam them into the breech, and do it again. And again, and again, as fast as humanly possible, in a space where he couldn't fully extend his arms. A well-trained Sherman crew could fire 8 rounds per minute. Let that sink in. 8 30-pound explosive shells, loaded by hand, in a room smaller than your bathroom. And the heat. Oh, the heat. On a summer day in France, interior tank temperatures regularly exceeded 120 degrees Fahrenheit. The engine, the transmission, the friction of the gun, the bodies of 5 men. Veterans who survived described it not as being inside a vehicle, but as being inside a furnace that was also trying to kill you from the outside. Sergeant Clyde Brunner, a Sherman gunner with the 4th Armored Division, wrote in his diary in August 1944, and I'm paraphrasing here, by noon, the inside of the tank smells like a locker room inside a smokehouse. Nobody talks about it. We just keep moving. He survived the war. Many of his friends did not. Now here's where the story gets darker. And if you're that gunner, staring through your scope, this is the part that matters most. The Sherman's main gun, the 75mm M3, was a capable weapon. Against lighter German armor, Panzer IVs, half-tracks, infantry positions, it did its job. But in 1944, as the Allies pushed into Europe, they encountered something the Sherman was never truly designed to fight. The Panzer Kampfwagen 6. The Tiger I. The Tiger I weighed 60 tons. Its front armor was 100mm thick. For context, a Sherman's standard 75mm shell, fired at close range, would bounce off that frontal armor like a rubber ball against a brick wall. The Tiger's 88mm gun, on the other hand, could punch through a Sherman's maximum armor, a mere 75mm, from over a mile away. A mile away. Allied tankers, the men actually fighting and dying, figured this out very quickly. The brutal rule of thumb that emerged in the field was that it took 5 Shermans to kill 1 Tiger. 5. And in that brutal arithmetic, 4 crews were expected to die. That's not a military strategy. That's a math problem written in blood. General Omar Bradley, in his 1951 memoir, A Soldier's Story, directly acknowledged the Sherman's inferiority in firepower, noting that American commanders accepted the Sherman's limitations because of its production volume and mechanical reliability. The war could be won with numbers, they reasoned. The men inside the tanks had a different perspective. So here you are. Your scope is locked on that Tiger at roughly 600 yards. You know your gun might penetrate its side armor if you hit the exact right spot, but its gun can kill you from twice this distance. Your commander is yelling coordinates into the radio. Your loader has a round in the breech. You can hear the bolts slam home. The engine is screaming. The tank smells like fear. And there's something else happening inside this steel box that nobody talks about. The noise. Sherman veteran Paul Fussell, who later became one of America's most respected war historians, wrote in Wartime, Understanding and Behavior in the Second World War that the psychological toll of armored combat was catastrophically underreported. The crews couldn't hear orders. They couldn't hear each other. Communication was through an interphone system that crackled and cut out in battle. Men made life-or-death decisions based on fragments of garbled noise. And then there was the fire. The Sherman's early models stored ammunition in the hull sponsons, on the sides of the tank, right next to the crew. When a penetrating shell hit those racks, the result was catastrophic. The vehicle would explode from the inside out within seconds. German tankers gave the Sherman a nickname that has lasted to this day, Tommy Cooker, because, they said, it brews up on the first shot. British troops, grimly, called it the Ronson, after the cigarette lighter whose advertising slogan was "Lights first time, every time." Studies conducted after the war by the U.S. Army Ordnance Department found that a Sherman, once penetrated, gave its crew approximately 15 to 20 seconds to escape before fire reached lethal conditions. 15 seconds. Inside a locked steel box, with a hatch that might be jammed, surrounded by flames and cordite. The survival rate of crews from a brewed up Sherman was catastrophically low. Your hand is on the trigger. Your eye is at the scope. The Tiger is turning, and for one razor-thin moment, its side is exposed. You have about 2 seconds, maybe less. You fire. This moment happened to real men. Hundreds of times. Thousands of times. On the roads of Normandy and the Falaise Pocket and the frozen forests of the Ardennes during the Battle of the Bulge. Some of them drove. Some of them bailed out through the hatch and survived by luck and adrenaline alone. Some of them never got out. The U.S. Army's own post-war analysis estimated that American armored forces suffered casualties in roughly 1 out of every 4 tank engagements in the European theater. 1 in 4. Staff Sergeant Lafayette Fate Poole of the 3rd Armored Division was one of the most decorated tank commanders in American history, credited with destroying 258 enemy vehicles in just over 3 months. His Sherman, nicknamed In the Mood, was finally knocked out in September 1944. 2 of his crew were killed. Poole himself survived with severe wounds after being pulled from the burning vehicle. He said, in a post-war interview, that he never once stopped being afraid inside a tank. He said, and these were his words, "Any tanker who tells you he wasn't scared is either a liar or he wasn't paying attention." The Sherman tank, for all its flaws, did help win the war. The sheer weight of Allied production eventually overwhelmed the German war machine. But let's be honest about what that victory cost. It was paid in claustrophobia and fire, in tinnitus and cordite, in 15 seconds of pure hell that some men survived and others didn't. The tank that looked powerful from the outside, the symbol of Allied industrial might, rolling down the Champs-Élysées to the cheers of a liberated Paris in August 1944, was also, from the inside, the most terrifying place a 20-year-old American kid could find himself. They climbed in anyway. They fired the gun anyway. They went back to it the next morning, even when they had watched a friend's tank brew up the day before. That's not a statistic. That's courage in its most raw, unromantic, and absolute form. Next time you walk past a tank at a museum, and you see that open hatch, climb up. Look inside. Don't just look at the gun, or the tracks, or the thick steel. Look at how small it is. Think about 5 men in that space. For days. For months. In rain. In summer heat. In the snow of the Ardennes. With the knowledge that one bad day, one 88mm round from the wrong angle, ended everything. The men who crewed those tanks were not characters in a movie. They were somebody's son, somebody's brother, somebody's dad who came home, or didn't. Remember them for what they actually endured, not the glory, the truth. If this story hit you the way it hit me when I researched it, drop a comment below. Which part surprised you most? The claustrophobia? The disparity between the Sherman and the Tiger? The 15-second survival window? If you want to go deeper, I've got a full video on the Battle of the Bulge, where Sherman crews fought in sub-zero temperatures on top of everything else. Link is right there. And if you're new here, this channel is dedicated to telling the human stories inside the big historical headlines. Subscribe so you don't miss the next one. I'll see you there.